much I didn't know about, well, everything. But that the way around this was to ask questions. By doing that, I hope to make myself a better person and a better man. This book is part of that ongoing quest. The catalyst that led to my writing it, however, was COVID-19. In 2020, during Melbourne's long lockdown, I lost a couple of mates to cancer. First to go was a friend who was about to turn 50. He was a super entrepreneur, a go-getter, a staunch vegetarian, a fucking good human. I tried to get to his funeral in New South Wales, driving up from Melbourne, thinking I had an exemption to travel, but I was turned around at the border. It was a very long drive home. Soon after, I found out that a mate from high school had died. He was a school teacher, a brilliant school teacher, and though we weren't especially close anymore, he'd always felt like a significant person in my life, and I wanted to pay my respects. Again, lockdown denied me the opportunity. It was as if the feelings within me had nowhere to go. I'll just write it out, I thought. Of course, by this stage of 2020, lockdowns had begun to take a toll on me, as they had on so many others. For one, being a member of the performing arts industry, I was out of work. Making things worse, the federal government had turned its back on us. Instead of thriving in theatre's collegiate atmosphere, instead of helping to create something I could be proud of, I was stuck at home. I became listless, mindlessly trawling social media, vacantly playing video games and getting angry when doom scrolling the news. It was only when flowers started wilting as I passed by that I would remember to drag myself off to the shower. Languishing was the word used by the New York Times to describe this weird state of blah experienced by so many throughout the first 2 years of the pandemic. I reckon I was languishing for sure. In between lockdowns, when bars and restaurants reopened, I dusted myself off, caught up with friends when I could. On these occasions, as you do, I smashed the drinks. These sessions left me feeling like shit because, well, that's how you feel after binge drinking. There was something worse to it. A feeling that clung to me, infused me, but that I couldn't quite name. It wasn't just the sadness that had stayed with me after the untimely deaths of my mates, nor was it this weird sense of loneliness I was experiencing even though I was and am in a loving relationship and have many dear friends and family. It was something else. Whatever it was, my awakening had stalled. I was in a hole. The deaths of my two mates prompted me to pull myself out. As I continued to mourn them, I was made to face my own mortality, and it prompted me to ask myself some tough questions. What am I doing with my time here? What would Joe do? What would Michael do? They'd get shit done, I decided. They'd live their best friggin' lives with the people that brought them the most joy. I'd been asleep at the wheel for too long, so I began to change a few things. The first thing I knew I had to do was detox. From social media, from my phone, and from the booze. I signed up to Dry July and began using not-for-profit Hello Sunday Morning's free Daybreak app to link with others also trying to change their relationship with alcohol. Once I got rolling, I soon discovered I now had all this time on my hands, and I began filling it with meaningful pursuits. At the insistence of my partner, Georgie Tunney, I wrote about it, and my thoughts were published in The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. I ran 100 kilometres in the month and completed my first half marathon in a decade, I wrote. I finished reading a wonderful novel by Trent Dalton, Boy Swallows Universe, now a play, it's amazing. I listened to podcasts and I played guitar and piano and I sang. I reached out to my tribe and I had open and honest chats with my partner. But most importantly, I found the joy again. This article attracted a lot of attention and I realised I'd touched a nerve. Men, in particular, were drawn to my story, not just because of what I said, but that I'd said it in the first place. It's desperately sad and frustrating, but for all the improvements in this area over the past decades, for all the work being done by individuals and organisations, men are still reluctant to open up and to show vulnerability. And this reticence has consequences, some of them tragic. I've learned a lot about this in my years as an ambassador for Are You OK?, a non-profit suicide prevention organisation founded by Gavin Larkin in 2009. I met with Martin Hughes at a firm press after the article was published, and putting on a show had its genesis in that meeting. We discussed many things that day, not least my struggles to keep my head above water and my decision to share those struggles. How representative was I of the typical